Hi, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jen, and if you're new here, I am on a journey to budget, manage my expenses, pay off debt, and pretty much just get control of my life again. I am recently divorced, and I am learning how to navigate paying all my expenses as well as paying off debt on my income alone. And today we are gonna go over my budget for the second pay period of November. So this is the budget that I had put together for the pay period that just ended, and that was November 5th through the 18th. I am just going to review the things that were actually different from my budgeted amount, and I'm gonna put up on the screen the sections that I am talking about. So let's go ahead and just get into it. For my income, my W-2 pay, the actual was a little bit higher than the budgeted, which I knew would happen, and so the budgeted was $29.48. My actual was $31.25. My shipped pay for the first week was lower than my goal amount. My goal is always $500 a week with shipped. For that first week, it was $465. And there's two things that contributed to that I need to really consider going forward. One is my Friday deliveries have been ending early because it gets so dark in my area that I just don't feel comfortable delivering past like 7. And in the summer, I was able to deliver till about 9:30 because it wouldn't get dark as early as it gets dark now. So I'm not able to work as many hours on Friday evenings as I'm used to. That particular weekend was also rainy and it snowed for the first time. And so one, usually when it's bad weather, there are not as many orders. And two, I just don't feel comfortable. And I'm not being a baby. I just don't want to be delivering orders in the snow if I don't have to. So I did take some more time off than usual that weekend. So I was only able to make $465 and not the $500 that I had normally budgeted. I do need to consider either upping my reselling and trying to have a target that I'm gonna hit every month to include in my budget, or adding a few extra hours after work during the week to make up for possible bad weather. I am not sure. Also, maybe I will do my budget with $400 a week for the winter months just to see how that goes. I'm not really sure. However, for the second shipped week, there was no bad weather and I made $708. Also, my two kids gave me their portion of their cell phone bill early. And I went back and forth on whether or not I was going to include it here or not. But since my Verizon bill was part of this pay period, I just included it. My son is supposed to be giving me his on the 20th. So his I will include in the next pay period. So that brought my actual income to $4,298. As far as my fixed expenses, everything was the same except my Verizon bill. My Verizon bill, I budgeted at $390 and it was actually $372. And the reason why that was different was because I had received a credit for a service that I had canceled partially through the month. So that is why my bill was a little bit lower than I had expected it to be. Next month though, it will be a little bit higher, I believe. I haven't gotten my bill yet. And then once I do get that bill, it should be the amount that is permanent. My budgeted amount for fixed expenses was $2,424 and my actual was $2,407. So then what I'm going to talk the most about is my variable expenses. My groceries, I went over and my budgeted amount was $400 and my actual was $448. My gas was budgeted at $200 and I spent $199. Dining out, my budgeted was $100 and my actual was $58. For miscellaneous, my budgeted amount was $100 and I ended up spending $112. And then my escrow was $125 and I paid $125. So that brought my actual variable expenses to $942. So when it comes to my variable expenses and maybe even some of my savings goals, there's something that I want to talk about because I need some help figuring it out. I have gone over on my groceries a little bit and I don't know how. I still can't figure out how because I track my expenses every night and I try to limit how many times I go to the store. Like I try and keep my grocery spending. I do a large shop on Sundays. And then there are times where the store doesn't have what I need and I either have to go to another store or I have to go buy it, later on in the week. And that is what trips me up. I think if I were to only go to one store on a Sunday, I'd be fine. But if I'm going to multiple stores, or if I have to go on a Monday or Tuesday to pick something up that I either forgot or they didn't have it at the store, it seems that I'm overspending somewhere. And by the time the transaction hits my bank account, it's almost like too late. Like I've already overspent. And I know I can probably just keep my receipts and add all that up. Maybe I just need to do that. But the other thing that I was starting to consider is using cash. So I know like the budget mom uses the cash envelope method. There are other budgets that use the cash envelope method. And if you were to ask me in September, before I started this journey, I think I may have even mentioned it in one of my very first videos that I was like, no way am I gonna use cash, that I use my debit card. But either way, if you were to have asked me in September, if I would consider using cash envelopes, I would have said, hell no. I would have been like, there's just no way. However, I don't know what's happening in my head, in my brain, but something is happening and it is getting me to a point to consider possibly using cash envelopes and cash stuffing for my groceries, for dining out, even though I'm not over in dining out and I haven't been, but for my groceries, dining out, and miscellaneous category, as well as maybe like personal care and birthday holiday saving, I am considering going the cash envelope, cash stuffing route. I think it would be helpful to have a visual of how much money I have left. And I don't know if this is like growth. I don't know if I'm crazy. I don't know what it is, but I'm hoping that I'm on the right path and that this is something that will actually be helpful. I need to know from people that do this, how hard has it been to go from using debit only to using cash? How inconvenient is it? Because I think that's where I'm kind of concerned. I'm afraid that it's going to be too inconvenient for me to stick to. I want to try. I want to try to do it because I think it will either be good or bad, but I won't know until I try it. So I kind of want to try it, but I also don't know the best way to start. And I've been watching so many videos on so many different people on their methods and the way it works for them that I think I have an idea of where to start, but I would love to get more opinions. So if this works for you, you remember like how you started, please leave a comment and let me know, what do I need to get started? What categories should I be thinking about? Which categories are the best ones to use the cash method for? And when it comes to savings, what is better to save in cash versus just putting it in my bank account? Any tips that you have would help me out. Now, I don't think I'm ready to do it for December, but I'm thinking of using December to plan and start doing the cash method in January. Let me get into the savings, and I've already moved this money over from my checking account into my savings account. I put the 50 for emergency, the 25 for personal care. I ended up putting 200 for holiday, and that was because I made more in my income than I had originally budgeted. So I added an extra $100 to holiday, and then I put 50 in home maintenance and 50 in vehicle maintenance. My budgeted amount for saving was $275, and I ended up putting $375 into savings. That left me with $574 left over. And originally my budgeted amount was $324. So I went ahead and I already paid my express card, and I paid $341, and now my express card is paid in full. I don't owe another payment to Express. I was able to pay that off, and I have $233 left over. I am leaving that $233 alone. I am going to put that towards an extra debt payment, possibly at the end of the month. So that brings me to the next paycheck, which I got paid today from my full-time job. And I have my paycheck tracker for November 19th through December 3rd here. And I will, again, go through everything, and I will have them up on the screen as well. For my income for this pay period, currently, my budgeted amount for the money from my son is $60, which he will be paying me $60 at the end of the week. My W-2 pay, I had budgeted $3,000. I got paid today. In January, my health insurance premium is going up a little, so my paychecks will change again. But for right now, my actual is $3,054. My ship pay, I'm budgeting again for $500 for the next 2 weeks. So my budgeted amount for my income is $4,060. I am just gonna work with my budgeted amounts, even though I know I got paid $54 more for my W-2 pay. I am not gonna include that right now in the budget. I'm just going over the budgeted amounts that I had. For my fixed expenses, I have my Google storage, which is $3, my Chase credit card, which is $143, my PayPal credit card, which is $135, my Apple card, I'm paying $77, and that's the minimum, plus what gets charged for my Apple Care and my iCloud storage, that's that $77. My mortgage for December is now going to be $2,137. My HOA is $308. eBay store is going to be $22. My ComEd went up this month and it's now going to be $135, and my Comcast is $70. So my budgeted amount for my fixed expenses for this pay period is $3,030. That leaves me with $1,030 left over. So for my variable expenses for this pay period, I left my groceries at $400, my gas at $200, dining out at $100. Although I don't think I'm going to be eating out much because we have Thanksgiving this week, and yeah, so I don't know. I definitely don't think I'm going to hit 100, but 100 is on there. And then miscellaneous is 100. That brings my variable expenses to $800, leaving me $225 left over. And I thought about not putting anything in savings this time, but I allocated some of it to savings anyway, and then I won't move it over until the end of the pay period. And I have $50 for emergency because I'm still trying to get my emergency fund up to at least $1,000. Personal care, $15, birthday holiday, $50, and then $50 for home maintenance and $50 for vehicle maintenance. Now that leaves me $10, right? However, if we look at the debt section, I brought over the $233 from the last pay period that I had extra, and I added the reselling income. So far for reselling, I've made $179. I may or may not make more for the rest of this month. If I don't make anything else with shipped and I don't make anything else with reselling, I have $412 to work with. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send $352 to my Sephora card, and I'm gonna put an additional $70 if I don't end up having to use it for something that comes up. I will put an additional $70 into my savings in my emergency fund, and that will zero out this pay period. So I think I'm good. I'm not concerned at all. But the more that I go through this, the more that I am starting to convince myself that I really want to try that cash envelope, cash stuffing method, because the only thing that makes me nervous is going over in my groceries or going over in my gas even and just not having enough. So I don't know. Again, thoughts, opinions. I'm open to hearing anything or suggestions. I'm open to it. I really want to get this nailed down. But I am excited. I paid off my Express card. Now I'm working on my Sephora card. That's the next one in line. And so I'm gonna make a $352 payment at the end of this month at least. And then in December, when I have to pay my minimum, what I paid for my Express card and what I'm paying for Sephora will now all go to Sephora and until that's paid off. And hopefully that can be soon. But at the end of the month, I will do my month in review, and I will include a debt update there as far as like how much I actually paid off for the month of November. And then going into December, we will do the same thing. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it for my paycheck. So some things that I'm considering is this pay period is a lot tighter than last pay period. So maybe I need to balance it out a little bit and carry money over from the first paycheck of the month. December, I will be getting paid 3 times from my W-2. So I get paid every other Wednesday. There's 3 Wednesdays in December that I will be getting a paycheck. So I will manage that. The other thing that I was thinking is trying to get a month ahead, but that's a little bit trickier. So I think I'm gonna try and do the whole cash stuffing thing first, and then look into possibly maybe cash stuffing for a month ahead. And then once I get that saved, I can start budgeting for the whole month and, be ahead of it. I don't know, but that's where I'm at. I wanted to check in. I wanted to share my paycheck budget for the second half of November. And I think that's all. Again, if this is something that you like to see, please, like the video, subscribe. I'm happy to have you on this journey with me. I am just super excited for how things are going, and I just want to share it with anybody who wants to follow along. So with that being said, as always, I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.